Hi everyone. Hi. Hi everyone. My name is Ivan, and I'm user experience designer at Alex. Oh, and I have to type in my password. All right. So we at Alex are trying to build great products for our users that satisfy both users and business needs. And from my 7 years experience in the industry, I figured out that a lot of mistakes and time and money could be saved to use prototyping in your work. And this is what I will be talking about today. Good enough prototype, a story about searching the perfect one. But before I begin, I would like to tell you that I'm not a wizard. Everything I will tell you today can't give you 100% guarantee that it will work, because there is no formula of success. I will just share you my experience. Of course, you can say when you succeeded, looking back, that doing this and that helped me to get where I am. But it doesn't mean that it will work for someone else. Don't get into survivor's bias. It's like every one of us has heard a story of smart and caring dolphins saving guys that are drowning in the sea, pushing back them to the shore. But have you ever heard the story of dolphins pushing some guys away from the shore? Guess why? So everyone here we all came here because we want to improve our skills, learn something new. And to do that, we all have some kind of process to produce high quality results. In Alex UX, we use design thinking approach, and this is our process. Today I will talk about prototyping and a bit about user testing. Today everyone knows the importance of prototyping. It's easy to produce, it's quick to test, it's really fast to communicate with all your stakeholders having a prototype. But not that long time ago, a lot of companies were producing and developing their products without using prototype. Who has this seen? Who have made development right away without creating prototype? Please raise your hand. Raise your hand. All right. I'm not only one who have made this mistake. But if guys use prototyping from the start of product development era, we haven't seen such products like Microsoft Office, Jira, or 1C. At least it would be with a better user experience. But today, only lazy guys don't prototype. Having so wide amount of tools, we can call the year 2016 the year of prototyping tools. Every of this tool is fighting for the user. It's trying to roll out more and more features to get your attention. So my journey into prototyping started when I started to use a prototype like a communication tool. With some issues about translating my ideas and explaining them to developers, to write less specification and documentation, I started to produce some GIFs, movies, using Flash to create a simple prototype that will explain mechanics that I invented. But quickly after this phase, I started to produce a carefully crafted, highly detailed prototypes that had a lot of cool animations, some interactions, even such prototypes that you could install like an app. And I have one case about Montessori kindergarten application that we had. I will explain you why I made a mistake of creating over-detailed prototype. So we had just started the project, and after a quick research, I jumped right into creating visual designs and creating a live interactive animated prototype in principle, because I invented kindly new pattern for Montessori teachers how to maintain record keeping in the class. After the first meeting with our client, he was so impressed that it inspired me to add even more details to the prototype. It took me about 20 hours to produce it. But when we went to the field, right to the class, I understood that it doesn't work at all. 20 hours of my work were wasted. Then I sat down and produced a quick, low-fidelity prototype maybe in 2 hours. And it worked. It covered just basic needs of teachers. But what I understood there, that I was missing important thing. I was not asking myself, why the hell am I doing this? What is the purpose behind the prototype? Why I made it? And when I asked this question to myself, I understood that I focused on the process instead of objectives. I fell in love with the idea, and I was so passionate that 20 hours of my work was really wasted. And don't make this mistake. Don't follow my mistake. Focus on objectives instead of process. Ask yourself, what is the purpose of the prototype? So, and I have bad news for perfectionists. Good prototype is not perfect. It's just good enough. To find out this, I created some scale that shows what kind of detailization we can pick for each stage of product design. For example, we can use paper prototyping to quickly communicate ideas with your stakeholders, but it's not so good for user testing, because users will not understand your scribbles on the paper. It's hard for them. Actually, you can use interactive animated prototype. It's easy to understand for users how it works. But from other hand, it takes a lot of time to produce. So when I addressed the purpose, I came to the next stage of prototyping, using the prototype as usability testing tool. A lot of companies have produced, they had started development without testing their ideas if they address the actual needs of users. But even decades ago, Frank Lloyd Wright, a famous architect, said that you can use an eraser on a drafting table or a sledgehammer on construction site. This example, this quote, tells us that you can quickly test your ideas with prototype using user testing, or you can throw away your product after release. Even not knowing that, I had one sad story to tell you. Our project was just at the beginning, and I was counting estimates for the product, and I added small usability testing with the prototype into the scope, but I was told by our project manager not to include that because we are not making a shippable product. We were creating just an MVP to demonstrate it on a trade fair. I was a new guy in the company, so I was not so confident. And I decided that senior guys know better. They know what they say. But right now, looking back, I understand that if I pushed harder, if I persuaded our team and the client to use prototyping and user testing in our work, we could save a lot of money, a lot of hours of meaningless coding of a tool that no one uses right now. Actually, we demonstrated our MVP on the fair successfully, but we haven't tested a really important hypothesis that anyone would pay for this tool. And it was a pricey lesson, but a great lesson. I understood that you have to use prototyping in every project, because using an MVP as a prototyping tool could be really costly. And when you create a prototype, you actually save money. Do you remember the story about the over-detailed prototype? So after that, I created a low-fidelity prototype really quick, and I tried to test it fast. But we also made a new mistake. We haven't stated our assumptions clearly. We made a mistake of scale. We thought that if we tested it with this kindergarten, our product will work for every kindergarten. But that's not true. We haven't checked our assumption. And right now we know that it doesn't work for every case, but we are working on a new prototype. And what I've learned from this example is that you have to state your assumptions really clearly and test them right away. Recently, I came back from discovery phase in the USA, and I tried a new level of prototyping, using a prototype as business hypothesis validation tool. We were creating an app for digital coupons, and we knew if our solution will be slower or more obtrusive than paper coupons, it's a sign not to start at all. So we worked with our stakeholders, clients, to define all business, technical, and industry limitations. We stated our hypothesis. We defined metrics of success that if our tool, we measured actually how long it takes to redeem paper coupons and compared it to our solution. I crafted a prototype and we started to recruit users to test it. We went to Detroit State, Michigan, and Michigan is known like one of the most states where coupons are used widely. But I used a Craigslist to recruit users, and you know what? There is no users wanting to earn $50 for 1 hour in Detroit. At least that kind of users that are needed for our sample. So we asked a marketing research agency to recruit those users, active coupon users, both paper and digital, active mobile phone users, with non-tech background, with average education background, simply put, our early adopters. So we ran a test and we checked if our hypothesis works. And here are some short results. Oh.
I get my wallet. Okay. Redeem, so going to redeem, I can select them, click redeem, start redemption, then access account, and then nice and easy.
No, yeah. It's easier to get the coupons on your phone. It's a hassle to do the paper or the print offs, whatever.
So, doing this user testing, we proved consumer and industry acceptance of our solution. We made this first stage to define if we can move forward. And that was a kick to the next level. When you come from user experience and user interface design to product design. And this transition happens not when you complete your work good, when you craft good wireframes, make great research, or produce really beautiful visual designs. It happens when your design addresses the actual business and customers' needs, those customers that would be paying for this solution. So from my experience, I define different levels and functions of using the prototype. Prototype as communication tool. You can use it to impress your customers, to explain your ideas and interactions you have. Prototype as usability testing tool. You can use it to validate if your user interface is understandable, if it's easy to use, and you can use it like a hypothesis validation tool when you check if your product fits into the market. And here are some tools that are popular for different functions, for different levels of prototyping. You can see that you can use wireframing tools like Wireframe CC, Balsamiq, UXPin, or Xsure to produce nice wireframes and test them, but it's not so good for user testing. When you try to validate hypotheses, it's better to use a high-fidelity prototyping tools like Proto.io that connects with usabilitytesting.com or Lookback, or InVision with Craft or Sketch. And this is my favorite tools. So, for each stage of design, the good enough prototype is different. We have to address the purpose to find out which one is perfect for this stage of product design. You can say that you are working in B2B and you don't need a prototype. But I would say that anyway, on the other end, there is a human performing daily tasks from day to day, trying to reach their goals. And imagine if you have 1 million audience, and with the prototyping, you can improve the process. For example, reducing 10 seconds per task for one user. And it turns that you can save 166,000 of hours for your audience. It's like 115 days or 1/3 of the year saving for your users daily. And what if we can improve not only one thing? What if we would have more than 1 million users? It's a really big impact into the world. You are really improving people's life. So go do something. Thank you.
Okay, hi, I have one question.
Yes.
How to deal with prototyping in waterfall projects?
Excuse me, can you repeat it again?
Yes, how to deal with prototyping in waterfall projects?
How to build prototypes?
How to deal
with prototypes in waterfall process. It's really simple. When you have stage by stage, you can just put a prototype in there between research and when you start your designs. It's harder to use prototyping in agile process.
But as I understood from your presentation, we need to make many assumptions and test all of them. But in waterfall, it should be determined before. So how to deal with this?
Yes, you have to run a research, and that's a bit different topic to discuss. To define your assumption, you have to research them. When you are building a product, you will basically have a lot of assumptions, because everything you do is based on the facts or on assumption, and you have to have a list of all of them, because it depends if your product will be successful, and then you have started to do a prototype.
Okay, thanks, I got you.
Yeah. Just maybe a comment. Not sure about like all the assumptions, because for some of them it may be costlier to validate them, and their impact may be very little.
It depends.
Sure. But I agree that it's important to define which assumptions are the most critical, which can either kill the business, kill the idea, kill the product, whatever. Those ones would need to be tested first.
Yep,
I guess.
I agree with you. Thanks.
That's why we work together, right?
Hi. Another question is, how do you make client understand what is good enough prototype? Like, if you build the wireframes and it's good enough for you, but client tells, it's not good enough. Like, give me colors, give me effects, give me anything else, and only then I can start testing it.
So good question. Have you been on Scott Salford's presentation yesterday? He have showed a graph showing that for different problems you have this curve that when you are going to a delightful product, your costs that you spend on solving this problem are higher. And for different stages of product design, you have to choose this good enough level. When you have rough statements, when you are just validating if your ideas work, it could be enough to use wireframes, because you can check them really quick and iterate again and again, and then you will improve your designs.
Yeah, but the point is, if I build the prototype that I think is good enough for testing to start validating ideas and so on, but the client still tells, oh no, I don't want to push this, I still want more to show it for users. So how to make client think that, like, tell you, like, encouraging your idea that what is right and what is wrong, what is good time to start.
Yeah, it's about selling ideas and like pitching. When you have such experience, you can tell a story like mine. When you say, when you do this, it's costly. It turns out in a lot of money spent on this solution, and it could not work. And you explain it. You just show some examples. And if your client doesn't believe you, you can do his way, and he will see that it could turn in a lot of money lost, or if they will go in your way, it could turn in a huge return of investments in the future.